So hello to everyone. Probably we should start. Sofia is gonna join us pretty soon. She's also in Mexico, and we're having some trouble with the connection. So I'm really sorry to everyone that has been waiting. So I'm Hector. I'm one of the academics. I'm an academic at UCL, and I was asked to chair this event. So this is an event that is organized by SEAHA, by the Billet Heritage Study Group, and by UCL Institute for Sustainable Heritage. And today we have a presentation by Manuel Villarruel Vázquez. He's an architect. He has a master in restoration. I'm just reading your bio here, okay? And restoration of sites and monuments. And he's a specialist in the conservation of the built cultural heritage. So correct me if I said anything wrong here.
It's okay.
He has been a researcher for the government, for different government programs of the state of Querétaro, UNESCO. And he's currently the director of license and inspection of the National Institute of Anthropology and History, Mexico, ENAH. So today he's gonna give us a presentation on the architectural and dimensional analysis of the tomb of Puimra. This is how it says, yes. So for people attending the event, what I'm gonna do is, if you see there on the bottom of your Zoom screen, there is something that says chat. So what I'm gonna ask you, if you have any question, please put it there. And at the end of the presentation, I'm gonna select a few of them and I'm gonna ask directly to Manuel. And if for any reason I don't select yours, Manuel is going to answer them later, and we're going to distribute it to all of you. So this is just to make this conversation with Manuel easier. So Manuel, I'm going to give you, so if you can, how long, there's a one presentation, how long is the presentation? But the presentation shouldn't be no more than 40 minutes. I think it's going to be 30, 35 minutes. So yes, so bear with us, good. And so Manuel, if you can share your screen, I'm gonna disappear from here. I'm gonna make notes from the question that we receive in the chat. Okay, so.
Can you see it, the presentation?
Yeah, I can see that.
Okay.
Yes, perfect.
Okay, thank you. So we can start. Yes. Good day to all. Good day. I think it's good afternoon in London. Mexico is good morning right now. We are very pleased to be with you here right now to talk about this interesting project that we are. A Mexican team is working on Egypt, working for the conservation of pharaonic heritage. So we are gonna present you now a small images, small presentation where you can see the different kind of works that we are been doing there since 2005. And of course, you can see also for the students that are with us now, the mixed methodologies of architecture, conservation, restoration, and archaeology. We're trying to explain how these different scientific methodologies could be mixed and joined to work together and to offer better solutions for the conservation, in this case, for archaeological and pharaonic heritage down there at Egypt. So we're going to start this. This is, we call this architectural dimensional analysis for the tomb of Puimra. Puimra was a noble who lived during the reign of two important pharaohs, Hatshepsut and Thutmose III. Puimra was also a very, he used to have many charges as in the court. So he is important, he has an important role during the reign of these two pharaohs. So the project we are presenting now is applied research project developed by the Mexican mission, as I said. This tomb is located on the western necropolis of Hoja in the West Luxor. So we are gonna present, this is Puimra, and this is one of the fragments we have found several years ago. And we can see on the down this image, Hatshepsut and Thutmose III. We can see here the two original or the primary researchers who have found and have worked on the tomb of Puimra. Since 2005, we started this rescue for Theban tomb 39. That's the name, the archaeological name that this Puimra's tomb has. This is an archaeological monument from the 18th dynasty in the Theban necropolis of Luxor. Puimra, as he is called in his funerary building, is he who is in charge of the nobles, the second priest of Amun, Puimra. He also has 15 charges within the royal court, like king's grand treasurer. And the tomb, as we said, was discovered by these two important personages, like Norman and Nina, the goddess deities. We show you here the archaeological site in different stages. Just to locate the tomb, we can see the specific point of the tomb of Puimra here. This is the archaeological complex of three of the most important kings of ancient Egypt. We can see here in this part the tomb of, the funerary complex of Hatshepsut, Queen Hatshepsut. This is the funerary complex of Mentuhotep, King Mentuhotep, and a little bit upward we can see the funerary complex of Thutmose III. So we can see in this aerial image, we can see the line that walks through the main dromos, or the main walks, the main road that connect from the east to the temple of Karnak, and in this part of the Nile, we can see the west of the river, and connect to this important religious complex. So we can try to expose here that the location of the tomb of Puimra was decided because of the important connection in these three, because with these three temples. We can see in general words that that this tomb was placed facing the dromos that connected by land the temple of the god Amun of Karnak towards Deir el-Bahri, where the temples, as we said, of Mentuhotep II, Hatshepsut, and Thutmose III were located on the west bank. This site under the hill of El Hoja would make the tomb of Puimra plays a preponderant role in the symbolic urban distribution of this large funerary space. Tectonically, the tomb was excavated in the limestone rock of the excellent quality of the hill of El Hoja. Was cleverly formulated as a sort of excavation process, a sculptural type, maybe, generating the space by extracting materials. I mean, the walls and the ceilings were the result of a careful cleaning and refining processes of the edges of each space, generating regular geometric voids or spaces, architectural spaces. Only in some areas where we assume that the limestone was found was not of good quality, or for reason of artistic emphasis, were created walls with limestone, ashlar, as in the case with the wall of the roof of the sanctuary that we are all going to see in a few moments, the majestic facade that framed the red granite cell, and in the sandstone portico. We can see some of characteristic of the necropolis of Luxor. We can see some different kind of tombs, very similar to the one of Puimra's. We can see that the thing that we just said, this is main entrance to a tomb, Nevamon, and we can see that they were constructed but by extracting materials inside the hills, inside the mountains, to generate the architectural spaces inside the rock. We can see some architectural variants of this kind of tombs. We are just comparing, just to show you different possibilities of the tombs that we can find in next to Puimra's tomb. We can see on the right here the general plan of Puimra, the CC39, and we can compare in scale, form, trace, and also in quantity of spaces inside the tomb, that you can compare different tombs from the same era of Puimra's. We can see M.R.S.M, maybe it's very known for you. Ineni, M.R.S also, the tomb of Hui, and different tombs like 135 that has different sizes, of course. But you can see that Puimra is a little bit complex. It has a specific religious program that Puimra had to traduce to a different kind of spaces to generate this kind of archaeological programs, and also to receive a different decoration and different, prayers that are now put inside the walls and of the ceilings inside the tomb. According to the excavation data, it can be inferred that the general form of the original hill of Hoja, from where Puimra started the process of selection of displacement area, its orientation and construction model. We can see here that this could be a hypothetical form of the original hill, and this is the place where Puimra decided to locate his tomb. These two lines are trying to show you where the dromos, I mean the main road that connect to the funerary complex of the kings are located. So we can see that Puimra, the first he has to do was to clean a little bit this space to create an esplanade, and also to start the construction of the facade. We can see here that we can understand the structural composition of the hill, how it was adequate to the characteristic of the hill, of the limestone hill, and also start to generate the different kind of spaces. This is a different view from the hill right now. Maybe some years ago, as the Mexican team found this archaeological site, we can see the form of the hill, natural hill here, that was a little bit modified by several buildings that were constructed in different era. Maybe we thought that this construction belongs maybe to the 6th or 8th era of century of this era. And we can see the facade of the tomb here. We can see the main axis here of the tomb, and we can demonstrate here how it started, no? The natural hill, how Puimra decided to create an axis that connects to the dromos, to the main road, to the funerary temples of the kings, and how he started to create first this axis and this esplanade to start the construction of the tomb. We can see the portico. This is a different, different images of the construction of the tomb. We can see here, when I'm going to start here of the letter C, where we can see the door. This door that we can see on this photo. This is a door. With this door, the architects of Puimra started to create the first space, the hall, that connected to the different spaces inside. We can see on the right, under the letter E, that we have different chambers inside the tomb. One of them is where we should found the false door of Puimra, a very important sculpture that is important for the religious program of the tomb. And in the letter D, we can see the portico and two sustained walls that were constructed just to add a facade or our main facade to the tomb. We have here in this model, the different spaces that are composed the tomb. And I'm gonna try to show you here in this point the entrance to the funerary chamber of Puimra, that it was down almost like 8 or 10 meters down, and go inside the tomb here to create the space, the special space to receive the sarcophagus for the tomb of Puimra. We can see here that the composition, the final composition that the architect that worked on this tomb, the architect of Puimra, they create a special architectural form based on a tripartite composition. We have 3 chapels. We have a special axis that is specifically connected to the dromos. We can see that the orientation of the facade of the tomb is directed to see the dromos and all the religious processions that could walk to this road. And also we can see some on other spaces, another specific architectural walls that could allow the tomb to be clean, avoiding the debris or some material that could fall down from the mountain. We can see some hypothetical plan. This is how we thought it should be the original plan for the tomb of Puimra. The courtyard, the porch, the hall, and the 3 chambers or 3 chapels that we call the South Chapel, the Central Chapel, and the North Chapel, that they used to have a different hieroglyphic program that shows a different kind of litanies, prayers for the living after the death of Puimra. We can see also a different kind of cracks or fractures that are inside the tomb, natural fractures, of course, that belong to the hill, that after many years, they became a big problem for the tomb, for the conservation of the tomb, because they are a danger for different spaces. And of course, they are maybe provoking some of the damage that we can find here. We can see this modern building, this modern ceiling that was replaced because for these cracks, we suffered the fall of some part of the ceiling. We can see the kind of cracks that we are working on to protect the tomb, and some of the measures that we are taking now to protect the consolidation and the stability of the tomb. We can see how this is a section when we can see the slope of the hill here and the inner spaces of the tomb that because of these support walls, they try to avoid, as I was said, the falling of some debris or pieces and sand and rocks from the top of the hill. This is a tectonical analysis of the porch facade. This is in the upper part of the image. We can see the facade as we found it in 2005. We can see this image as the original discovered of Norman Legalis Davis used to say on his book that maybe it could be the original form of the facade of the tomb. And below we have found an hypothetical porch facade that we have made. You're gonna see the different kind of analysis we're working to connect and to show how it could be this image. We also have the tectonical analysis of the portico facade, the porch facade, and we can see this that is, as we said, made of different parts of ashlar constructed in different chantier and put inside here to recreate a porch that protects the facade. This is a virtual image of how we have now the working process of the tomb. And I'm gonna show you these different architectural and restoration processes that we are working now to conserve the different and valuable places inside the tomb. We are working here and showing here the south chamber, where we found these important fragments that we are trying to restore this niche. We reconstruct, as we said at the right, lintel, hieroglyphic lintel with that we should reinforce to reinstall over the supportive part of the niche, like here. And this is how we start to finish all the work in this part. As we can see in these two images, how we found it and how we are trying to work now to replace and to recollect, and also to offer different ways for reading the original hieroglyphics. This is a different work in the hall that we are working since 2018. This is the section of the hall. We have the 3 doors of the different 3 chapels or 3 chambers of the tomb. And we are working here to consolidate this lintel. And this is a special lintel because it used to have a lot of hieroglyphic information. So we are trying to, as we can see, to reform, to reconstruct a puzzle, a very heavy puzzle made of different pieces, a very small one, a very big one, like different like this. And we're trying to reconnect and also to recreate the original lines of lecture, original lines of reading that we should do this. This is a different part that we are trying to reconnect here. And this is the image of 2018, where we try to reinstall different parts of the original fragments, and the work that this very difficult work to connect the different pieces, a small one. This is the North Chapel of the tomb. We can see here the western wall of the North Chapel, and we found like this this image. We can show you how we found this wall in 2005. So now we are working now to reconstruct, because of these fragments, to recreate these special fragments. We can see here the project that we are working in different years to recreate how it used to be this special part of the tomb. We are working with some fragment. We have a lot of fragment lost, but we have many of them like this that we are working to reassemble it in this image. This is the final work that we are still in process, reinstalling some fragments and a new one, and also with the help of the original fragments that are going to reintroduce the original image of how it used to be, this original wall, southwest wall of the North Chamber. We're trying to connect and to reinstall this old process of consolidation using all the technology that we have found in hand. So a few years ago, we started to work with the 3D scanner Leica BLK technology. These small machines that like the one we are watching here on the left, and we are seeing here how this process is working on. We're trying to take some accurate measures to demonstrate how this tomb could be could be built, and how could this tomb could be placed on this area. I'm going to show you here a small video. Salvador. Sí, un poquito, dime tus órdenes. The work of dimensional prospecting and architectural conservation, it is necessary to highlight the development of studies using 3D scanning technology. This action allowed us the incorporation of architectural design processes for the restitution of pieces more precisely and to understand the overall structural behavior of the tomb. We can see, maybe you know, this technology is very common right now. This technology allowed us to recreate the inner spaces of the tomb, to take measures like we are showing here, and also to use this information to recreate and to construct how this a lot of fragments that we have lost and all the fragments that we have found, that how could be assembly inside the walls, inside the decoration of the walls and ceilings of the tomb. We can see different proceedings of the use of this technology, an image that can recreate and model the different sides of the tomb. This is a special grid that we use to calculate the weight of the ceilings and the weight of the material that we are extracting of the tomb. This is a solid image, a virtual image of the tomb we are living last year of the process. And we can see for the architects that are listening to us, we can see, for example, how we could recreate different sections of the tomb using this software. Like this, showing the height of the hill and the height of the contention wall. This is another process, very similar, trying to recreate the topographic elevations and the architectural plans that are used to the different teams, the architectural, archaeological, restoration, epigraphic teams of the tomb, that are working on the tomb to have very accuracy information. I would like to read a little some conclusions that we are showing of this information. I think in the same way, dimensional and archaeological analysis have led to consolidate and recover scans of lost ashlar walls, which now begin to recuperate the original image. The rescue project for the Theban tomb 39 is still in process, and there are many fronts to be carried out, mainly finishing the stabilization and protection of the architectural ensemble. In that sense, the importance of interdisciplinary work for the conservation of cultural heritage is again exemplified, showing that the work of architectural restoration, the conservation of murals, and archaeological prospecting go hand in hand with historical, epigraphic analysis and three-dimensional studies, generating new ways of reading the archaeological funerary phenomenon. I would like to say that perhaps the studies presented here can serve to comprehensively understand the interaction between the funerary constructions, its open ritual space, and the urban context. As some scholars point out, re-evaluating the little-known values of the exteriors of the monuments, of the pharaonic monuments that now are studying maybe as a different monuments, but we are trying to connect them because as we are seeing here, we can see that they were connected and they have a lot of relationships within the topographical and natural context and to the cultural context as the roads, the canals, the channels, and the different spaces that were used to have on the surroundings of each town of like this of the Puimra. I think with this, I try to introduce a very fast image of where are we working on Puimra's tomb, but I'm gonna leave this in here, and we're gonna be at your service if you want to ask some questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Manuel. Excellent presentation. Thank you very much for sharing your research. There is a few questions here, and I'm going to start with, yes, I can see that Sophia just sent me a few of them. So the first one is, what are you using as a filling material for the walls and to reconnect the fragments that you found in the floor, I guess?
We are trying to use a mixed technology, mixed techniques to consolidate the walls. We're trying to do some consolidation progress, avoiding the use of water at most. We're using some techniques that are very common in Egypt, and because of the materials are very common to get, like linen wraps, linen threads that we have mixed with some consolidation systems, and we reinsert inside the cracks with the help of lime mortars and some small pieces of limestone, basically.
Okay, thank you. There's another question that says, what did you prioritize when making the restoration process?
Excuse me, I didn't hear you.
What did you prioritize when making the restoration process?
When we started in 2005, we create a specific project for the tomb that was authorized by the Supreme Council of Antiquities since that year. So that time we have to connect different restoration process that becomes from different teams that belong to the Mexican mission of this project. So we started to create different, according to the importance, we start to work with the methodology, trying to attend the different needs that the tomb has. That's why we started first with the consolidation of the tomb, After that, we tried to recreate some protective walls that avoid us to, as we said, to have some debris inside the tomb. We also had to create an inner scaffolding system because we had some areas that were in danger, and of course was difficult also for the tomb, but mainly for the workers and the technicians that were working inside the tomb. So we want to assure the space was very, you know, healthy for the working process. So I think the scaffolding system, the protection system, and the consolidation system were the main process that we started to. After that are coming different technologies to excavate, to reinstall the original fragments in the tomb, and also to reconstruct the hieroglyphic reading inside the different walls of the tomb. This is a process that is working, still working, but this is maybe in the highlights of the different priorities of the tomb.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you very much. I have a few questions. The first one, well, I'm not familiar with tombs in Egypt, so, but at the beginning of your presentation, you presented a number of them, and actually you compared them with the one that you are at the moment intervene with other ones that you have, those, yeah, exactly those ones. And at some point you mentioned that this Puimra is quite complex. And do you know what it was? I mean, why is complex? I mean, you can see that you have more chambers, but any reason why it's more complex? Any reason why it has a specific layout? Any reason? I was quite interested to know more about the chambers and what was having these chambers, etc.
Yes, well, we have some hypotheses of this. Maybe we believe that the importance of the life of Puimra was materialized also on his tomb. We think that maybe Puimra, that used to have the charge of architect of the queen, we know for different fragments and from the works of the Polish mission that are now working of the funerary complex of Hatshepsut, that Puimra used to work on the construction of the Queen's complex, architectural complex. So we believe that Puimra used to have maybe a little bit more knowledge of architecture, and also maybe that's why he decided to first to locate the tomb in a special place, but also to recreate or construct a special configuration for his tomb. Also, we thought that maybe the different characteristic of the tomb, he decided like this because he tried not to construct only a tomb for his own body, but also a funerary temple, because as we can see here, the tomb it has not just one chapel for the religious prayers for his soul, for his ka, but he has also another two chambers, another two chapels, and a hall that they used to have, as we can see in this image, a lot of hieroglyphic and carved inscriptions that could serve as a book to show him a lot of history and also a lot of religious text to recreate his travel to the other side, his travel to the other world to see Osiris. So I think maybe answering your question, Hector, we thought that Puimra was a very complex men with a lot of knowledge that we were trying to build a funerary temple, not also a tomb.
Okay, thank you. I have another question here. It says, what are the main current challenges in the conservation of the Billet heritage in Mexico in comparison with Egypt?
Mexico, you know, there are different locations, different, the nature is different also, but maybe the methodology processes are the same. The methodology processes, I think, are equivalent in different latitudes of the world. In Mexico, we also have to work with the damages that are produced by the nature. In Mexico, different of Egypt, we have a lot of water on the environment, so we have to protect our buildings from this kind of damages, the raining, you know, the quantity of sun, the heat, and also, of course, all the damages that could belong to them, like you know, maybe some plants and some animals also that could damage the building inside the temples or inside the architectural ancient buildings. So we have to work with this mainly. But of course, one of the main problems that we have in Mexico is the earthquakes. We had suffered a very big one, you know, in 2017. Mexico, our country, is still working on these damages. We suffered on that year, 2017, we suffered that 2,034 temples, historical temples were damaged, and now we're still working. We're working a very full process to consolidate and to reconstruct many of these spaces. But also in Mexico, maybe one of the problems we have is that we have to create different managing programs to get money from different funds. So we have a very important funds that come from the government also. But in Mexico, I think a few years ago, are starting to appear a lot of organizations, a lot of organisms that are working to get and to fund different projects for the conservation. I think right now with the possibilities that the technology and the web that can offer to us, we're trying to recreate some platforms that could allow us to get money from different parts of the country or different parts of the world to generate process for the conservation of different kind of monuments. So I think the task we have are many, but we are still working, including in this one that the modern era are attracting to us.
And following with that same question, I mean, you as a Mexican, you are involved in this restoration in Egypt. Do you have the same contribution from researchers or academics or conservators from around the world that go to Mexico to do similar type of work? So is the same contribution? I guess everybody's learning from the different regions some way, no?
Yes. Yes, of course. We are not as many as we would like, we wanted, but we have some contributions. Many American universities, we received some supports and financial and technical support from different parts of the world. Maybe from the United States of America, we have a lot of agreements that allowed us to work with them for the conservation of different monuments, especially for the archaeological sites. So we are working in this kind of processes, and I mean, we would like to be we would like to have more colleagues, more scholars to work with us in this task that we are working now. That, as you know, now we can add the problems that we have with the, with the pandemic, with the COVID, the coronavirus. So we have to stop some conservation process, but we are now at this month to restart this work. So any help is very welcome.
Okay, well, there's an invitation for the people that is attending this webinar. There's another question here. What is the main value that you will assign to the tomb? I'm not so sure if, I mean, the value here is in terms of money, in terms of heritage value, but I guess it could be anything, but what is the value that you assign to the tomb?
We thought that the tomb is very important for the history of the new empire. As we said, according to the historical chronology of Egypt, we have an ancient empire, a middle empire, and a new empire. So Puimra used to live in this new empire. So we're thinking that the conservation project of Puimra's tomb could help us to understand what was happening to the rest of the places in the history of the new kingdom. You know, it's said by the scholars that in the funerary tombs, funerary complexes of the kings, we only could find religion. We could find litanies, we could find prayers, but we cannot see historical data maybe. So it is very common that in the nobles, in the tomb of the nobles, we could find historical information that could connect different aspects, different situations that could help us to understand what's happening during the reign of a specific king. So I think this is the importance of small tombs like this, like Puimra's, that because could explain us a lot of information surrounding the life and the political exercises of the king of this period.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I don't have more questions. Yes, so what I'm gonna do now, well, first of all, I'm gonna thank you for your presentation, for the time. I wanna also thank everyone that have attended the presentation. I'm gonna also thank Cecile for organizing this event, and Sophia that wants to say a few words to you. Sophia, are you there? We cannot hear you, Sophia. You're mute. Yeah, now you are. Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much for your presentation, Manuel. And on behalf of the Build Heritage Group, I would like to thank you for joining, to all the participants to the conference, and to Manuel again for your brilliant talk. That's all that I have to say, and I hope you have enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank you, Sophia. Thank you for the invitation. I'm very pleased to be here with you, and we are here to talk with you anytime you want. Thank you very much for the invitation.
Well, thank you, Manuel. I just have one question for you. The painting that you have behind you is that is, I mean, are you in your building, your working building?
Yes, this is my office, the National Institute of History in Mexico. We can see an original canvas painting. This is you can see the image of San Francis during his the stigmatization of his hand, and you can see here it's an original fragment here. We have some treasures for luck here to inspire us.
Yeah, look, lucky you. I have a few of these painted here at home. I mean,
Ah,
big one. I mean, not really like that. Big
yes,
one.
of course, of course, of course.
Okay, well, we leave you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Sophia, Cecile. Thank you. And thank you to everyone that attended the presentation. And if you have any further questions, please get in contact with Cecile and Sophia, and they will make it, send it to Manuel for him to answer. So thank you very much, Manuel. Bye-bye.
You're welcome. Thank you to all. Thanks to all. Thank you very much.